This week on the Analog Circle podcast, Gears 5 is getting a new lead character. Move over, Marcus Phoenix, your spot is being taken. We get some very interesting news about how the PlayStation 5 will stay at a cooler temperature. I mean, what they're talking about with that is very, very interesting. We may have a potential leak on how much a 500 gigabyte hard drive will cost for the PlayStation 5, and Kojima's next project is in development. All of these stories can be found here right now in episode 149 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I want to start it off by saying thank you, the listener out there, for taking out the time in your very busy day to spend a little bit of it with me. Thank you guys so much for that. Now, before we get started, if you, the listener, listening right now, I'm telling you, and this week coming up, when we go over listener feedback, man, I got some emails this week that I'm very excited to get into. So if you, the listener, want to be a part of that episode that's coming up later on this week, you can do that two different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show. And like I said, I got a lot of them this week, but the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Now I'm gonna tell y'all two things. The first thing is, what have I been into? And it is, of course, Mafia Definitive Edition. That's going to get us started this week. That game, I beat it, and my gosh, that game right there, Hangar 13, I tip my hat off to y'all, man. I'm not saying that it was a perfect 10. I'm not saying that it was a very fine 9, but it was a very straight 8. That thing was good, man. That game was so solid that by the time it ended, I felt like it didn't overstay its welcome, and it didn't feel like it was too short. It felt like it was the right length of a game, and that ending, golly, man, no spoilers here, but that ending was something else. I'll say this without spoiling it, and this is not a spoiler at all. It just makes me more interested. Seeing the ending of the first Mafia, it makes me want to pick up and see what the world is going on with Mafia 2. It ended in such an interesting way. Oh man, just wow. Enjoyed it. It was great. Now, the second thing, since Mafia already wrapped up, I said, well, I got a heck of a backlog here. What other game can I play and start? So I looked, and we're going to talk about this a little later on in the show, but I started playing Devil May Cry 5. Oh, man! DMC 5! Oh, shucks! Oh! That game, I'm going to tell y'all, over on Twitter, I put a video up of that game, and my goodness. So if you want to follow me over at Twitter, feel free. It's at Kiaun. It's the @ Kiaun 79. Feel free. Hit me up over there. We can talk. But man, what a heck of a game. Now keep in mind, to be fair, I'm no more than an hour or so into it. But good gosh, this game starts off with a bang. And I was a big fan DMC that was made by Ninja Theory. Again, it wasn't Capcom. It was Ninja Theory. That game solidified my gaming relationship with Ninja Theory. When I saw how great that game was and what a great job they did, I said, these guys, sky's the limit, man. So after playing that and jumping into DMC 5, wow, man, just graphics were great. So far, I mean, the story, I'm still trying to figure that out. Like I said, it starts off with a bang. Dante is doing what he does, and he gets into some situation at the beginning. I don't want to ruin it for people that may be about to experience it for the first time in this upcoming next generation, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But, so far, so good. I'm really enjoying the gameplay. I'm enjoying the, like I said, the graphics. The graphics, man, that RE engine is serious. I mean, good grief. I saw the RE engine flexing its muscles in Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake. But DMC 5, good gosh, they got a winner on their hands with that engine. That engine is serious. A very pretty engine to look at. Just the graphics that you can do on that engine is just amazing. My hat goes off to Capcom. But yeah, I can't really talk about it too much because, like I said, I'm only an hour or so in. Everything feels really, really good so far. That introduction, good gosh, just great, man. But look, I'm not going to sit here and ramble because I got to get ready to go to work in literally about an hour and a half. So I'm going to try to pick up the pace of this episode this week. So yeah, man, with that being said, without further ado, because I got to get to work in a bit. Actually, I'm going to be down in North Carolina this week. I'm going to start out in Virginia. I believe Norfolk, Virginia, and then work my way on down to North Carolina. I think Charlotte. I may end up somewhere around near Charlotte, North Carolina. But yeah, anyway, though, let's go ahead and get into what we all come here for. And that is the gaming news that went down. So let's get started with Sony. And depending on who you are, this could be bad news. More so bad news if you own the demo of Kojima's horror game PT, because Konami sent out an email that said, and I quote, "The content will not be available on the PlayStation Store, so users won't be able to re-download the content through the backwards compatibility feature to the PlayStation 5. End of quote. So PT, the game that never was, that never really fully built to fruition. This was a game that everybody was so excited about. It was so amazing. It was fantastic. People were selling PlayStation 4s for $1,000 with this demo on it. And people just hoped that it would have materialized into something bigger and better. That possible Silent Hill that we heard about some years ago that Kojima was supposed to have been allegedly working on. Well, unfortunately, as we can see now, once again, it never materialized. And just to, like I said, just to add a little bit of a dagger into this situation, making it some bad news, you won't be able to carry this over to the PlayStation 5. Ah, man, that's gotta sting. But hey, if you got it on the PlayStation 4, and one day maybe you'll want to sell it, you'll probably get some pretty good money for that. Get some good scratch for your PlayStation 4 with this demo. But let's go ahead, man. Now, I'll just move on to the next story. Now, I do want to stick with PlayStation because even though it's a drip feed of information when it comes to the PlayStation 5, I mean, good grief, we were doggone thirsty out here. I mean, it was like the Sahara Desert for the PlayStation 5 when it came to gaming news about them. But we did get some more news about the console, and it's quite fascinating. Now, this info comes from 4gamer.net, where the mechanical design chief of the PlayStation 5, his name is Yoshihori Otori. Man, oh man, I think I butchered that poor brother's name, but let me spell it out. Yasuhiro. Yoshihiro Otori. Oh, man. Anyway, he sat down. Shucks, man, I'm gonna keep this thing moving. He sat down to discuss the fan of the PlayStation 5. Now, I know you're probably saying, the fan? You couldn't pick anything else to talk about better than the fan? But hear me out. Now, this is his quote. He says, various games will be released in the future, and data on the APU's behavior in each game will be collected. We have a plan to optimize the fan control based on this data. End of quote. Now, he continued and said, and I'm going to quote him again, multiple temperature sensors are placed on the console's main board to collect data while the APU runs any given game. And that data is what will allow Sony to optimize the fan going forward on a per game basis. End of quote. So this is something I have never heard of before. This is just a level. Now, granted, PC guys, maybe you guys are familiar with this kind of tech where they're actually observing, you know, how hard your fan is spinning with certain titles, and they're able to implement these updates, you know, to the fan to make it spin faster or slower or just at the right speed. I mean, this is very interesting tech, but I have to say, even though this is impressive, it makes me wonder. This is the skeptic in me. It makes me wonder, are we going to have a situation with the PlayStation 5 where we are going to have something of a red ring of death situation? Now, hear me out. I am not saying that this is going to happen, but you think about the levels, and you gotta give Sony a lot of credit for this. They are going through any and everything they possibly can to make sure that this console stays as cool as possible. I mean, this thing has dust collectors in it, for goodness sake, built into it so it won't cake up your console with dust. You get it? You pop off that side and just vacuum it up, and your console is good. So they're taking every single caution that they can to make sure that this thing doesn't overheat. But my thing is, when you're taking this many cautions, I mean, good gosh, what do they have? Liquid metal inside of the PlayStation 5? The PlayStation 5 looks like a doggone NASA spaceship. That thing is huge. It has a ton of vents in the back, and now you're saying that you guys are going to make sure that you're following basically the progress of how each game runs to make sure that you can adjust the fan to blow harder, blow less, or do whatever it needs to do to make sure that it's keeping the console cool. And I mean, all of these different, man, so many different levels of making sure that they're doing everything they can to make sure that the console is running as cool as possible. It just makes me wonder. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, like I said, I'm looking at it. It's not necessarily I'm looking at it in a negative light. I'm just looking at it like, good gosh, this is a lot of stuff going on to keep this console cool. And you don't hear about Microsoft going through all of these different lengths and, you know, all of these different fans and this liquid metal and all of this stuff. You hear that the Series X is running at a pretty decent temperature, even though that got blown out of proportion, but it's the internet. What are you gonna do? So, I don't know, man. I think it's great tech, like I talked about before. I think that, you know, I mean, you gotta tip your hat off to Sony that they're trying to just do everything they can to make sure that it's not a problem, it's not an overheating issue. But I just wonder, are we going to run into a situation like that? Because back in the 360 era, the red ring of death, good gosh, if that happened in today's time, with social media being the way that it is, man, Xbox would have been out of business. Not Microsoft, but Xbox. That would have been it was horrible enough PR at the time. It was terrible. But today it would be amplified by 10. So I'm just saying that hopefully, and Sony is amazing. These guys aren't going to have much to worry about. They have an amazing launch lineup. And, that's going to be the question of the week. I already know what it's going to be. But their launch lineup is great. Well, we're going to talk about that later. So they have way more mind share. They are the leader, the market leader. It's no way that I'm saying that it's going to be a problem. Even if they do run into some overheating issues, I'm not necessarily saying that it's going to, oh man, Xbox is just going to run the gamut on them. Nah, not at all. Not even close. But I do think that it would make people more cautious. And you know how people love to complain. They love to blow things out of proportion any chance they get. I'm just saying that it might be an uphill battle if this is a situation. I'm not saying it is. I don't know. But only time will tell. Let's go ahead and move into the next story. Now, let's talk about Halo Infinite, because if you guys remember, sometime in the summer, it might have been, I don't know, August sometime, but I mean, anyway, during that time, Phil Spencer had said that they contemplated releasing the game in parts, but later decided against it. Well, fast forward 2 or so months, Kotaku had an interview with Phil to talk about Halo Infinite, and he said this. He said, quote, Bonnie and the team will go drive those decisions, but I think we want to make sure people feel like they have a Halo experience. I think we can look at options like that. So yeah, I think that's something to think about. But we want to make sure we do it right. End of quote. Now, wait a minute, Phil. Hold on. Now, you are Assassin Phil. This amazing acquisition from Bethesda. I mean, good gosh. I'm going to continue to applaud you for such an amazing pickup. Good grief. ZeniMax bought in the back pocket. Well, I don't know if you guys knew this, and I got to shout out Post Up. I'm going to deviate just a little bit. But that deal, that Bethesda deal, it actually doesn't officially happen until February. Right now, they're in, I don't think you call it litigation, but they're still, kind of deciding and working out the deal, as it were. And as a result of that, and once again, shouting out the Post Up over there with the Broadband Bully. Shout out to them good brothers. He was saying that that's why, Phil Spencer, he's not being so transparent as to where the games are going to go, because it's a possibility if he says something wrong, the whole deal might be squashed. So they don't officially own those guys yet. It's going to happen in February. So that's why he's been being a little more cagey than usual and not giving just straight answers about, yeah, it's going here or it's not going there. So we'll have to see what happens with that deal. Hopefully they make it to the finish line officially when February comes. But getting back to this story about Halo Infinite, man, Phil, don't do this, man. Please do not bring this game out in pieces. I don't think that's the answer. I think that people want that full-fledged, brand new Halo experience. I don't think somebody wants to just take on the campaign and then 6 months later, here comes the multiplayer. They've always come out together. I think that they should continue to do that. Xbox doesn't need any more bad PR. Next thing you know, somebody's going to spin that story into a complete negative. Oh, Xbox can't finish games on time. I mean anything. Y'all know how this game goes, man. Y'all know how the console wars are, man. Come on. One small thing, and that's not a small thing to begin with, having a game come out in parts, unless it's a Telltale game. No game should be doing that outside of them. But, I mean, I just think he should really release this as a whole. If it's not ready, it's not ready. Don't force it, man. Just let it live. Let it be what it's going to be. And release it when it's a complete product. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you guys want to see Halo come out in parts because you are just that excited about the campaign and you don't want to wait? You want it right now or as soon as possible. I'd like to hear from you. But moving on, let's keep with the Halo train because I don't know. Maybe this is what he's talking about because he said that he wants people to have a Halo experience. I don't know. Maybe this is what he's talking about. So, like I said, while we're on the subject of Halo, over on Twitter, Aaron Greenberg said, and I quote, and this is a pretty cool announcement. He said, excited to share that Halo Master Chief Collection will be fully optimized this holiday, including 120 frames per second campaign and multiplayer on both Xbox Series X and S. Also cross-gen play and adjustable FOV. Note, all these upgrades are free to Sony. All of these upgrades are free. He didn't say that. I just put that Sony part in there. But yeah, he said these upgrades are free to anyone who owns the game or is in Xbox Game Pass. End of quote. Now, Greenberg also mentioned that split screen would get improvements and up to 4K on Series X. This free upgrade will release, if you weren't aware, on November 17th. So I say you stick with this, Phil. I mean, look, man, don't bring out Halo Infinite half-cocked. Make sure that it's all together. This is dope. This is really cool news. 120 frames per second on campaign and multiplayer. I mean, look, man, it's a free upgrade. It's going to be in up to 4K resolution. You ain't got to pay for it. November 17th. Why not? I think this is really cool. Yeah, fully optimized. So, I mean, who knows? Stick with this, Phil, and I think you'll be all right. It's not really much more to talk about with this. So we're going to move on into the next story. So we know that Spider-Man Miles Morales is coming to both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Now, some people may still be wondering what the difference between the two versions will be. Well, creative director Brian Horton from Insomniac, he sat down with Game Informer to explain what will be in each version. Now, he said, and I quote, "We were able to take full advantage of all the features in the PlayStation 5. One of those things was graphics fidelity. So you're going to see ray tracing reflections everywhere in the game on PlayStation 5. That's not something we're going to feature on the PlayStation 4 version." End of quote. I think everybody kind of knew that, but the article continued to say, it was also said, it was actually a comic book article, that the haptic feedback will allow players to feel things like Miles' bioelectricity flowing from one end of the controller to the other, which we have never seen anything like that, or should I say felt anything like that. Can you imagine literally the controller as you're holding it? You're feeling this bioelectricity flowing through the controller. I don't know how the heck it feels, but I'm just imagining it going back and forth, and it's like filling your whole hand, bro. I don't know. That could be so interesting. But when it comes to the PlayStation 4 version, you just gonna have a standard rumble in the controller. God, dog. I mean, this is nothing I don't think anybody was not expecting. It's gonna be the regular rumble, but man, I'm interested to know what that haptic feedback is like. But continuing on with the list, load times will be, they said, pretty much non-existent on the PlayStation 5, but on the PlayStation 4, of course, you'll have to sit through some loading screens. But outside of those different features, they said it's pretty much going to be the same game. So it looks like if you can do without ray tracing, you can do without the haptic feedback, and you're not really that concerned over load screen time, then basically you'll be getting the same game, as it were. So anyway, I mean, that's about it for that. I feel like, man, I might have kind of jumped in a dumpster for this story, man. I'm kind of feeling like I dumpster dove on this one because, yeah, I think we kind of went over most of this stuff anyway. So I'm going to get up out of this one and we going to get on into the next story. So Gears 5 is getting a few updates for the next gen version. Now, most of the improvements we know about, the 120 frames per second, online PvP, a new Game Plus mode, and faster loading times. But outside of that, and I think one of the coolest new updates is you'll be able to play as Batista for the whole campaign, and it will include a full voice-over using man, I just said the guy's name, Batista's voice. So instead of playing as Marcus Phoenix for the campaign, you can go with Batista. And for the people that, yeah. So this is the thing. I kind of butchered that. But yeah, Batista, you guys remember it was sometime last year, he was saying that he wanted to be in the Gears movie, and it seemed like it wasn't going to happen. So he sent the tweet out basically saying, it doesn't look like it's going to work out for me. So one of the guys over there at the Coalition has said, well, man, how cool would it be? No, wait a minute. I think Batista has started something like not necessarily a drive to get him into the game, but he was just drumming up excitement about him being in the game. It wasn't necessarily a campaign, but one of the guys over at the Coalition, he was like, you know what? I think this would be really cool fan service. People want to see Batista in the game. And of course, he was already in the game from the multiplayer side of it, but they took it a step further. They have him now as Marcus Phoenix and actually had him record his own line. That's really, really cool, man. It's just a nice little feature, nothing groundbreaking, earth shattering or anything like that. But for the people that wanted it, I can appreciate this because the Coalition, they listened, they knew that people wanted him in the game, maybe have a bigger role, and they did that. And that's what you call, I would say, really good fan service. So I believe this is going to be available sometime in November. I think the 17th, I believe, don't quote me on that, but it is sometime in November. I believe this update will be available. So, yeah, let's go ahead and move on into the next story. Now, this is in quick news. Super Mario 3D All-Stars has sold... Oh, wait a minute. Whoa. I do want to run back to this Gears thing real quick. People are out here talking about that. They want another Gears kind of similar to the Master Chief collection. They want a Gears collection of remasters. I'm like, wait a minute, man. Hold up. Do you guys remember? We just got a remaster of the first Gears in this generation. It was a new Gears re-release of the first game. No, we didn't get anything for the second one or the third one. And then the fourth and the fifth one came out this generation. So, man, I don't want that. What I want Microsoft to do is concentrate on some new IPs. Get Coalition off of doggone Gears. Let those guys have their own IP. Give Gears a rest. After this next Halo comes out, give that joint a rest. Well, Halo's been sitting for a while, so I mean, that's cool. But good gosh, man. I don't know. I'm not trying to speak for everybody because everybody has their own preferences. But man, we should be asking for more than remasters all the time. Let those guys work on a brand new IP. Forget Gears. In this upcoming generation, let's try to just... Okay, Gears 5 is already out, so that's not going anywhere. But let's let the Coalition burn or cook up something new. Microsoft, let these guys create. Let them create something different. My gosh. Anyway, Let's go ahead, man, and let's just move on to the next story. Now, this is a quick news story. Super Mario 3D All-Stars has sold 1.8 million digital copies, making it the biggest digital Mario launch on the Nintendo Switch. Let me ask y'all something, man. I'm just throw this out there, man. How do y'all feel about having another Gears remaster or remake? Is that something that you guys would want? I'm talking to the Xbox fan base. Is another Gears remaster what you desire? Because I'm going to tell you, I am a Gears fan. I am. I'm not all into the allure of it outside of the games and reading the comic books and the books. I don't do none of that. But when it comes to the game itself, I enjoy it. I really love the world of Gears. It's great. I think the Coalition are really solid developers. But do you guys really want them to just put all of their eggs in one basket with the Gears franchise and then remaking games that have been out for, good grief, since the last generation of Xbox? I just don't think that's what the fan base really wants, man. I don't think so, but maybe I'm out of touch. I don't know. Let me know, man. Anyway, let's go ahead and move into the next story. Now, this is another quick PlayStation 5 news story. Now, Twitter user Marlin Gaming Nation has shown a picture of a 500 gigabyte hard drive price tag for $115 at Walmart. Now, here is his direct quote. He said, PlayStation 5 SSD price spotted at Walmart. It begins. Thanks, EJ. Hashtag play has no limits. So how interesting would it be that PlayStation 5 has a 500 gig hard drive? Now, granted, 500 gigs ain't going to get you too far out here in these gaming streets. You're going to run out of gas pretty quick. It might take you about 2-3 blocks up and then you can make a right. But that's about all. But thinking about people that are on a bit of a budget, people that don't want to kick out that $200+ that they're just trying to get enough storage to go with what they already have on the PlayStation 5. Do you guys think that this would be a good seller? 500 gigabytes of hard drive space for $115. Now, granted, I paid about that much for 4 terabytes of hard drive space on my Xbox One, but this is new technology. New technology takes a while to go down in price. So, hey, I'm going to tell you something, man. At half the price of a 1 terabyte at $115 allegedly, man, brother, sign me up on the dotted line. I'm being dead serious. I'm not ashamed to say it. Give me this 500 gigs. I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to add it to the 600 plus gigs that are already going to be on the PlayStation 5 once it formats the IO or whatever. I mean, the UI. And I'm going to be good for at least a little bit of time. I understand games are taking up a ton of space. But if you balling on a budget like myself, $115 sounds way better than $220. So I hope that this is real. I hope this is a real deal. Now, once again, this wasn't confirmed by Sony. This guy, once again, his name is Marlin Gaming Nation. He had a picture of the price tag of $115. It looked legit. Nobody knows for sure. So kind of take this one with the mustard seed of truth. But I think at $115 for 500 gigs, I don't think that's too far out of the wheelhouse of a possibility. But let's go ahead and let's switch gears completely. Let's go over to the PC side for a minute. For you PC players, Epic Games will be giving away Bloober Team's Blair Witch and Ghostbusters for Halloween. Now, you'll be able to get those 2 games for free. It's actually Ghostbusters, the video game remastered version. You'll be able to get those free starting on October 29th. through November the 5th. So get on over there next week and enjoy yourself. Anyway, let's go ahead. And we're almost done, guys. This is almost it. Let me see. Moving into now I talked about it earlier, but let's talk about DMC5 Special Edition. We got some news about that game for the Series X and the PlayStation 5. Now, it has been confirmed by Capcom's marketing and digital platforms VP, William W. Bacon Yagi, that with ray tracing turned on, now these are very interesting specs. But if you have ray tracing turned on, the game supports, excuse me, guys, it supports 4K resolution at 30 frames per second or at 1080p at 60 frames per second. So that's a huge bump. You're talking about ray tracing at 1080p, it gets you 60 frames per second versus 4K resolution, you're stuck at 30. Now, this is where it really gets interesting. If you switch off ray tracing altogether, you can play at either 4K 60 frames per second or up to 120 frames per second. Now, this is the thing. With that 120 frames per second, they did not clarify what the particular resolution would have to be for something like that. So I don't know, man. Your res might be a 720p. It might be a 720p running a dog on 120 frames per second. I don't know, man, but that's blistering fast, to be honest with you. Now, I also do want to point out, too, that where they said with the ray tracing turned off, you can play at either 4K 60 frames per second. It did have a slash there between the 4K and 60, so 4K / 60 frames per second. I think that you'll be able to do it because, I mean, with ray tracing off, it seems like ray tracing is a beast. I mean, my goodness, you're going from, golly, 4K 60 frames per second from being as far down as 30 frames per second at 4K with ray tracing turned on. Good gosh. But this is the thing. This is what I want. And I think every console gamer should be, I'm not trying to speak for everybody, because of course not everybody is going to feel the same way, but I think that it's really good that at least these developers are giving us the option to run the games or run the game the way that we want to run it. Some people, they think that frames are more important than resolution. Some people think that resolution is more important than the frame. So I like the fact that these development teams are giving us the option to be able to turn on and turn off what we deem as important in the game. I think that's fantastic and it should be celebrated. And this game, by the way, if you didn't know, it's going to be $39.99. So not a bad price for a remaster. I kind of wish I didn't already start on this game, but I don't know, man. Who knows? If I enjoy it enough, I might pick. I don't know, man. 120 frames seems kind of cool. I ain't even going lie, man. Seems real nice. If it can run at 120, that'd be interesting to play. Yeah. Anyway, that's about it for that. I think it's great news that they're letting us have the options to play the games like we want, similar to PC, just at a more basic level. But anyway, that's going to lead us into the final story for this week. So Kojima Productions is hiring for its next project. Now, here is the direct quote from the Kojima Productions Twitter account. It says, quote, hashtag Kojima Productions confirms a new project is in development and is looking to hire the best in-class talent to work out of our Tokyo studio. For more information on the openings and requirements, please visit our website at kojimaproductions.jp /EN/ #careers. End of quote. Now, this is my question to y'all. Kojima. Oh, man. Kojima is a legend, brother. I'm not taking anything away from him. That Psycho Mantis fight in the first Metal Gear, God dog it, brothers. Good grief. Psycho Mantis really had me thinking he was reading my mind for real. I mean, this dude was reading your memory card. I'm like, wait a second. This is like third level right here. So on a whole nother level, it just broke that fourth wall. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So ever since that moment, Kojima has just been at the top of I held him in such high esteem. Just, this guy is on another level. But over the years, man, and I've talked about Kojima before, talking about that Lolly Lule Low and all of these different plot points that to me it never added up. I'm still lost 15 years later trying to figure out what the heck did I just play, but I bring all of that up to ask you guys know by now who have been listening for quite some time that I think Kojima's overrated. I'll go on record and say that. I just, at one point in time, I would have never thought that. But seeing some of these other guys out here, what they do with their teams, Corey Barlog, this guy's just amazing, him and his team, and Neil Druckmann. These guys are just fantastic, man. So to me, I don't think Kojima's as good as he once was. But the question that I'm leading up to, and sorry for the just drawn out, the drawn outness of this, but I just want to know, do you guys think that Sony is going to pick Kojima back up for another round? Because we know that Death Stranding, it wasn't it, Chief. Oh, no, it was not it. It didn't perform, even though Kojima said that he thinks that they broke even. But who's going to go out there and say that, well, this was a big fail. We didn't reach the mark when it came to this game. I don't think anybody's going to say that. So what I want to know is, do you guys think that Sony is going to gamble with them again? Are they going to put Kojima back behind them and say, look, we're going to back you. We're going to give you the money you need. We're going to give you the resources you need. We want your game on our platform again. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Sony is going to back him on this one. I think that Kojima, him and his team, this is going to be third party. Because we already heard earlier this year that Kojima had pitched an idea and it got shot down. They said, nah, we're good. And he said how he was sad and he was down about it, so he had to go back to the drawing board. So I truly think people are going to be way more cautious about what the world they're going to give Kojima the money for. So I don't think he's going to be on the PlayStation. I think this is going to be a third-party game. I don't know what the heck it's gonna be. Everybody, including myself, thought Death Stranding was gonna be on another level. Man, having babies stuck in throats and having them on your stomach and guy holding the baby up in the middle of a deserted beach with whales that look like ink all on them. Man, shoot. I was like, this can really be something else. But no, it ended up it wasn't great. And I have the game. And I have not, once I got deeper into it, I have not enjoyed that game that much. But I want to know, do you guys think that Sony's going to gamble with them? Or do you guys think that Microsoft, out of all people, will try to coerce Kojima over to his side? Because as it stands right now, I don't think this is under anybody's umbrella. They're just working on a new project. So I don't know, guys. But anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week, man. I couldn't really get into the topics like I wanted to because, like I said, I got to go to work, y'all. Man, oh man. But anyway, let's get into the final section of the podcast where I ask you, the great, the awesome listener out there, a question to get your feedback. Now, the question that I posed to you guys this week, and I know y'all saw it already, but I'm going to make it official like a whistle. Oh, man. Is this the worst Xbox launch lineup? Because I'm going to tell y'all, I got to say yes. I think it is. For the first time, listen, I want to read off a couple of games here to y'all. Now, these are the games in the launch lineup. This is literally what Microsoft is saying is their launch lineup. MK11 Ultimate, Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Gears Tactics, Grounded, Man-Eater, Sea of Thieves, Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Man, look, listen. What do all of those games have in common? They already been released. When have we ever seen in a new console generation that you are re-releasing games that have already been out for years? You have MK11 Ultimate on your list. Forza Horizon 4? Oh, really, Microsoft? Ori and the Will of the Wisp? That was out earlier this year. Listen, man, I understand that these games, they're going to be enhanced. Some of them are going to have 4K resolution running at 120 frames per second. Some are going to be doing 60 frames per second. But you can't go and repackage a game that's already been out that I can get my hands on and act like it's a brand new game for a launch of a brand new console. When have we ever seen anything like this in gaming history? Where you are literally repackaging old games that we already can buy. Sea of Thieves? Sea of Thieves, Microsoft! Oh, man. I've never seen anything like this in my gaming history. Where they are literally putting these games out here and marketing them like they are brand new games. And you can say, well, Kiaun, hold up, brother. Hold your horses here for a second. What about Devil May Cry 5? The definitive edition or whatever it's called, the limited edition. I don't know I forgot the subtitle of it. But my rebuttal to that would be, I mean, God dog, at least you know what you're getting. It's a remaster with some, man, that don't even make sense, man. Look, listen, you go over there and you see what Sony is doing. Sony actually has games that are brand new. They're brand new experiences. And that's my point. None of these games are brand new experiences. Now, some of you guys can say it's 120 frames per second. You can even say the 4K resolution thing again. I get it. But at the core of the game, it's the same game. No matter how you spin it, no matter how you twist it, no matter how you move the goalposts, it is the same game that it's been. It's just a little more shinier, it runs a little faster, and it loads a bit quicker. Those are great things. I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited about those new features. Don't get me wrong. I think what Microsoft has done with their backwards compatibility it's the first time we've seen anything like it in console gaming, and my hat goes off to them for that. But in a period where people have been saying that Xbox has no games, granted, Assassin Phil went out there and he picked up Bethesda. He got them. Just got to close the deal in February. But he has them for the most part. But you can't, after the generation that you just had, this just about to wrap up, you can't come out the gate and think that this is a good idea to repackage games that you have already sold. Oh my gosh. Who the world is running? Oh, man. Leadership. Man, where is it? Phil Spencer, like I said, I know he can't run the whole doggone thing. He has people that he got to depend on too. I ain't going to put it all on Phil, but it is under his watch. I mean, Barney Ross, did anybody see Barney Ross come out? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because, man, y'all teach me stuff all the time. But tell me, was there ever a time that she came out and said, look, this was our mistake, our bad, we're going to correct this. Halo is a great franchise, and we just want it to be the best that it can be. Was Barney Ross ever out there talking about this? Isn't she the leader over there at 343? Isn't that her ship that she's supposed to be steering? Where was she to take some of the blame for this? Nowhere. Now, once again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I would apologize, but I didn't see her out there. Leadership. Man, man, oh man, God, dog. The same games again. I don't know. Anyway, man, we're at about 50 minutes. We gonna wrap it up, man. That's the question, though. Is this the worst Xbox launch lineup? I mean, I really want to get you guys' opinion on this. Man, listen, you can do it two different ways. We're going to be recording later on this week. I'm going to go over these fantastic emails I've gotten. And, man, it's been some really, really good ones so far, man. I've really enjoyed reading them. So shout out to you brothers that wrote in, and they will be read. But if you, the listener, want to be a part of this upcoming listener feedback, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be about the question. You guys can ask anything, leave comments, say what you want to say, because it is your show. It's dedicated to you guys. So if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, God dog, and me. Or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I want to let you guys know one thing. I did not forget about the gift cards, man. Didn't get a chance to run to the store, man. That's the truth of the matter. So what I'm gonna do in the listener feedback, that'll be the first one that we're going to give away. We're going to split it up. What I'll do is I'll have one for listener feedback, and I'll have one for the regular show, just to spread it across a little bit. So anyway, I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I truly, man, y'all don't understand, man. I just really want to thank y'all for rocking out with your guy, man. I mean, it's great. I mean, like I said, the emails, I'm really excited to get into those. And, man, without you guys listening, show ain't worth doing. So I truly want to thank y'all for the support. And, yeah, man, we're going to just continue to grind, continue to try to make the show as best as it can be. And, man, like I said, your support is greatly appreciated. So before we officially get out of here, always remember that it is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So until next week when we do it again, and we definitely doing it later on this week, we gonna be back at it. But until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.